assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srimad. So, what are you going to read from? Chapter 7, Chapter 8. Prahlada pacifies the Lord with prayers. We'll go to that. We'll read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Text 4. 974. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Ready? Supposed to say something. Oh. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Prahlad pacifies the Lord with prayers. Text 4 onwards. Therefore, Lord Brahma requested Prahlad Maharaj, who was standing very near to him, "My dear son, Lord Narasimha is extremely angry at your demoniac father. Please go forward and appease the Lord." So, Narada Muni continued, "O king, although the exalted devotee Prahlad Maharaj was only a little boy, he accepted Lord Brahma's words. He gradually proceeded toward Lord Narasimha and fell down to offer his respectful obeisances with folded hands." Translation, text 5. When Lord Narasimha saw the small boy Prahlad Maharaj prostrated at the soles of his lotus feet, he became most ecstatic in affection toward his devotee. Raising Prahlad, Lord placed his lotus hand upon the boy's head, because his hand is always ready to create fearlessness in all of his devotees. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The necessities of material life are four: ahara, nidra, bhaya, and maituna, eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. In this material world, everyone is in fearful consciousness, sada samudvigna dhiyam, and the only means to make everyone fearless is Krishna consciousness. When Lord Narasimha appeared, all the devotees became fearless. The devotee's hope of becoming fearless is to chant the holy name of the Lord Narasimha. Yato yato yami tato Narasimha. Wherever we go, we must always think of Lord Narasimha. Thus, there will be no fear for the devotee of the Lord. So, Prahlad Maharaj has appeared. Lord Narasimha has appeared, and he has killed the demon Hiranyakasipu. Hiranyakasipu was not an ordinary demon. He was an extraordinarily powerful person. It is said that he is the greatest demon who ever lived. There are stories like he himself became Ravana later, but still, and Ravana lived in another yuga, but still, it is said that once he saw a very big, round thing, and he could not move it. And then he asked, what is this thing that I cannot even move? I lifted the Kailash Giri Parvat. So he was told that this is the earring of Hiranyakasipu. So Hiranyakasipu was such a powerful demon and extraordinarily powerful by the Lord's will, because the Lord wants, he wanted to fight. Naturally, some weakling cannot go and fight in front of the Lord. So he sent his own devotee and empowered him even more. And Hiranyakasipu was a very powerful personality. For many people, these stories appear like mythology. It's not real. But that is because in Kali Yuga, we are very, very ordinary people, and they are not capable of any special, I don't want, any special capacities. But in the olden days, these were there. In Satyuga, people lived for 100,000 years. Even if you take the Bible, the Old Testament, so in the very first page, first paragraph, you will see it is written that so-and-so, son of so-and-so, he lived for 800 years. So we can understand that this, what they call as Genesis, is hardly from the Yuga previous to this Yuga. Because in Dwapara Yuga, people lived 1,000 years. In Kali Yuga, we live 100 years. So, we have, these kind of things are there, historical records. And in Satya Yuga, people lived 100,000 years. You can imagine how powerful they were. And Bhagavatam describes that when Hiranyakasipu walked, his head was touching the clouds, miles and miles high. We don't know such people, you see. And they were very powerful. Plus, he has done many, many, many thousands of years of tapasya. And when tapasya is there, special powers come. Such things are there. The scientists, people are there. One thing about them is they are very convinced that in what looks like ordinary objects, andar bahut shakti chupa hua hai. They know that somehow. And they are always thinking, how can we get it out? Otherwise, how can they just get out of some wire? Electricity, lights, we use all of this, isn't it? And they just take some two elements and they mix and they get atomic energy. How did they find it out? Even they don't know. Srila Prabhupada said that even Brahma doesn't know how creation is made, but it happens. Whatever, he thinks that should be done, he thinks and it happens. Even he does not know. Even the great yogis, they don't know how their powers work, isn't it? Kardama Muni created an aerial mansion for his wife just by his thought. And even he was astonished how such a fantastic mansion came. And in this way, there are so many powers. And Hiranyakasipu had accumulated enormous powers. This is not a joke. This is not a fanciful story. See, people have these capacities. Just like if you just press this button, then immediately some music will play. Kirtan, Prabhupada Kirtan will play. When one who does not know this, you give it, of course nowadays even 2-year-old children know what to do, tuk, 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 they're doing. But the fact is that by manipulating what are called macroscopic objects, you can produce enormous effects. It's a very important point. Just like you go to nuclear reactor, see, all you can do is to put dials. They'll set it up like that, big, big dials. You move. These are macroscopic objects. And then atomic energy is produced. Everything, you manipulate big things, and how are these things manipulated? According to scientists, do it according to some formula. Such formulas are there in the old times also, called mantra vidya. This is all yantra vidya, as I told you. So when we read in Mahabharata that Arjuna took one arrow, and so they show it in the movies, TV simply, put one arrow and it will go, and another arrow will come and it will stop and then it will fall down. There is no understanding what exactly is happening. The science is not known. It's a real science. So that simply by touching the arrow and chanting some mantras, incredible powers are, and these are not any arrows. So this is Astra Vidya. And in this way, Hiranyakasipu was a master of so many vidyas. We should know how powerful he was, we should know. And it is said that every morning, sun used to stand as a mirror for him, and moon used to be light. And he was so powerful. So people were all subjugated by him, all the demigods and everybody. And when Lord Narasimha appeared, as you all know, in the dusk, it was such a roar with the Stambha split. And out came, Stambha is of course millions of miles high, and out of that came an extraordinary large figure of Lord Narasimha. Hiranyakasipu himself was very tall and very, very big, but Lord Narasimha was, vast and huge. And when he came, even Hiranyakasipu was a little bit, shocked. The first knot of fear came in his heart. And immediately he actually took up in the sky, Bhagavatam describes, in front of. And he was just going round at a high speed because he had so many powers. And also simultaneously produced hundreds and thousands and millions of forms, all look like Hiranyakasipu. And he was just going here and there and everywhere. And Lord Narasimha is there, came out and is looking. And this fellow is just, and from every side, every Hiranyakasipu is roaring, and he has got this thing and he's moving. Everybody was amazed. But out of all these millions of fake forms, isn't it? Chat GPT forms or whatever it is. He actually, Narasimha simply put his hand out and picked up the right Hiranyakasipu. And as soon as he picked him up, all the other forms went away. The Lord is so inconceivably powerful. And of course, he just then walked very slowly. And Hiranyakasipu was wriggling in his hand. He's so powerful, but he couldn't do anything. And whatever, he must have chanted many mantras, and he must have tried so many of his secret weapons. Nothing could happen because the Lord is the source of all these things. And he went and casually sat on the entrance, and all you know, he put him on his lap and just killed him. Dalita Hiranyakasipu. Dalita means very much easily he did it. Hiranyakasipu, Tanapringam. That body which was so powerful, just, and he died. So that's, Lord Nrsimhadev. And people cannot even relate to such pastimes. But in those days, people were so powerful and advanced. And the Lord came and manifested. But in all the incarnations, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha tushkrutam. The Lord is actually killing, is protecting the devotee, Prahlad, and killing the demon, Hiranyakasipu. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sava Avatara Sara, Kevala Ananda Kanda, that he is actually the essence of all the incarnations. And there's only Ananda Kanda. So we can imagine Lord Chaitanya had appeared instead of Nrsimhadev. Then Hiranyakasipu would have just dropped everything and started saying, Hari Bol, and he'd be jumping up and down. Because the Lord, that is so powerful incarnation of the Lord. It's also described in the Alvar's poem, Kudare Vellum Sir Govinda, that there is a form of the Lord in which he conquers even those people who don't like him and hate him. He makes them his devotees. So, this is a very special movement where Lord Chaitanya has come and, is delivering everybody. But still, it is not, the movement has still not fully manifested Lord Chaitanya's mercy, because he said it will go to every town and village, and we are not seeing. So 99.9% of the world is still become Krishna conscious. And of course, we have taken up this process, but we should know what exactly is the process. The process is that we must first become completely free of all material desires and contaminations. Not a joke. So here it is said, text 6, by the touch of Lord Nrsimhadeva's hand on Prahlad Maharaj's head, Prahlad was freed completely of all material consciousness and desires, as if he had been thoroughly cleansed. Therefore, he at once became transcendentally situated, and all the symptoms of ecstasy became manifest in his body. His heart filled with love, his eyes with tears. Thus he was able to completely capture the lotus feet of the Lord within the core of his heart. This is the first step of Krishna consciousness. Always. So that Lord Chaitanya says, Cheto Darpanamarjanam Pavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandambudivardhanam Pratipatam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Saran Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam means that Cheto Darpanamarjanam. So this process must be completed. This is called science of Krishna consciousness. We can't just go on year after year for every Nachinga Chaturdashi, sit and just hear the same stories and then get up and go. We should advance. Should advance. So this Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Mad Bhaktim Lavate Param. We must become Brahma Bhuta and we should become actually Mad Bhaktim Lavate Param. Then you engage in my bhakti which is higher. Therefore, all of us must know that we have not really taken off in Krishna consciousness if we are not liberated. Because that is the first step. And that's what happens here to Prahlad Maharaj also. You are purified of all material contaminations. No more thinking I am the body, no more thinking I am the mind. And one actually begins to feel prema and you begin the next process of Krishna consciousness. And this process becomes completed when actually his heart, he was able to completely capture the lotus feet of the Lord. These things are all there in every purport, everywhere. So this process of joining the temple, undergoing first and second initiation, following Purascharya, principles of bhakti, and then one important step will happen, which is also not known, but when it happens, the first stage of Krishna consciousness gets completed. And what will happen at that time? We will become? Yes. We will become liberated and purified of all material contamination. And that's only the beginning. And we have to go beyond that. So in this, there are actual steps that have to be carried out. And why are we so much emphasizing the process of deity worship? Because in Kali Yuga it's only chanting Hare Krishna, it is said. But deities are there and we are chanting for the deities. And anybody knows? And that clue is also given. Thus he was able to completely capture the lotus feet of the Lord within the core of his heart. So it is lotus feet of the Lord is not just something in the vacuum. Where simply imagine the deity that you are worshipping, you are developing a relationship, sambandha, and that deity's lotus feet will enter your heart. It will. It must. And then only whatever process we are doing will culminate in liberation. It's not a mechanical process, chanting and dancing. So, I don't know. I don't see so many people here. Anyway, this is a science. It is not that we'll keep on chanting and then we will die and we'll go back to Godhead. There's a process by which we have to go. And this is being described here. This is the first step. It is unavoidable. You will see Hindus also, many Hindus will say, Apna Kuldev. We have got our Kuladevam, isn't it? Kuldev have. So although there are so many temples, they will say, no, for us, this deity, Tirupati Balaji or something, Banga Bihari and Vrindavan, like that. So, but it is not merely that then that family will give some donations to the thing and whenever they go there, they'll be the first people to receive garland. this and that, and when they come, they say, we have been worshipping. No. You worship the deity so that you actually develop a relationship with the deity, and the deity is pleased enough to put his lotus feet in our heart. That time it's a very wonderful experience. You didn't ask for it. You cannot purchase it. And when that comes, everything becomes peaceful. All the devotees have, King Kulashekara Alvaran has written, Madana Parihara Stitim Madiye Mukunda Padara Vinda Damni. He is telling, King Kulashekara is telling Lord Kamadev, now Lord Mukunda's lotus feet has come in my heart, and Kamadev, you have been occupying my heart for a long time. Now you please vacate, because you have no place here. Once you actually got killed by, simply we got burnt by Lord Shiva's looking at you. Right? But don't you know the greatness of the Lord's, what is it called? Sudarshan Chakra. So he says, no, you go away. Because the Lord's lotus feet has entered my heart. If you at least know this theoretically, then you can realize, now actually I can test my advancement. By how far? Of course, it is not that every morning you just check whether the Lord's lotus feet is there or not. But at least you wait, you know this. This is the first step. It cannot be avoided. That is the meaning of this verse. I'm seeing that even I am so shocked and surprised and pleased, and it's wonderful. Madana Parihara Stitim Madiye Mukunda Padara Vinda Damni Haranayana Krishanuna Krishosi. Haranayana by Lord Shiva. Haranayana Krishanuna Krishosi Harichakra Parakarne, something like that. So let us purport Prabhupada is writing. As stated in the Bhagavad-gita 14:26, Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and becomes to the level of Brahman. Same thing, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita it said, Mam hi partha vyapashritya epi shu papayonayo sriyo vaishyas tata sudras epi anti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they may be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas as well as Sudras, can approach the supreme destination. On the strength of these verses from Bhagavad Gita, it is evident that although Prahlad Maharaj was born in a demoniac family and although virtually demoniac blood flowed within his body, he was cleansed of all material bodily contamination because of his exalted position as a devotee. In other words, such impediments on the spiritual path could not stop him from progressing, for he was directly in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are physically and mentally contaminated by atheism cannot be situated on the transcendental platform, but as soon as one is freed from material contamination, he is immediately fit to be situated in devotional service. So this is the qualification for entering devotional service. There is no, of course, difference between what we are doing and pure devotional service, but right now, it is apakwa, mango is very raw, later it will become ripe. But in this stage, we have, to become pure, free from all material contamination. Then what is the result of the lotus feet of the Lord entering the core of your heart? Prahlad Maharaj fixed his mind and sight upon Lord Narasimha with full attention and complete trance. With a fixed mind, he began to offer prayers in love with a faltering voice. So, the result of actually getting purified by performing Purashcharya, you see. So, in the process of Purashcharya, we do bhakti, which is called, generally it is Manadatta Seva. I have explained this before. And after you are liberated with the lotus feet of the Lord situated in your heart, imagine if all the temple devotees are walking around with the lotus feet of the Lord actually revealed in the heart. It is the same thing when Brahma was doing tapasya in the lotus. Brahma Samhita describes that first slowly the darkness of material existence was lifted by Krishna, and then he actually revealed to him his lotus feet. Brahma was seeing, suddenly he saw, what is that? Wow. And of course, he's sitting in this dark stem, but the lotus flower and beautiful music is being played. Yes. Don't think that he was just sitting there alone saying, Om, Om, Om. No, very fantastic. And then he saw, and of course, one becomes a Brahma by following Varnashrama Dharma perfectly for 100 lifetimes. So, he actually understood, having a vision of the lotus feet of the Lord. Everywhere you will see this, actually. And there are three, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is described that there are three different levels at which you get the lotus feet of the Lord in your heart, and that is described. And I think I read that purport last time, I'm not sure. And these things are there. So Krishna conscious philosophy is to be, in this way, slowly realized in the heart. And at that time, the mind becomes completely jadavat. It is actually jado, mind, and it actually becomes completely quiet. Wow. Imagine what happens. Untold millions of lifetimes this mind has been making hours. Never stop. Morning, evening, night, awake, asleep, the mind is running. Isn't it? Correct? Prabhu, you say you have studied the mind, is right or wrong what I'm saying? Huh? Constantly running and constantly draining soul. And this, by this process of performing bhakti properly, and for this lotus feet of the Lord to appear, so many things needs to be done. I don't know whether they have been taught or not. So when you read the books and you become convinced because of past punya to take up this process of Krishna consciousness, that is the beginning. It is not that after you come here also, you do the same thing. Simply go on reading whatever you want, read more books and give more stories and more these things. No. I have called this as green glass knowledge, right? Green glass knowledge is actually somebody is completely blind. Someone was given a green glass by which suddenly he can see. Of course, everything looks green, but at least now you can see. Like that, we were blind. And this green glass is actually this knowledge of Bhagavatam coming to us through our mind and intelligence. It is still polluting everything we see. We have our own concoctions. Because these kind of things you cannot know. As soon as you read this verse, you cannot recognize. This is the first stage by reading. This is transcendental knowledge. So then you have this green glass knowledge that is good enough to actually see things they are. Oh, this is Kali Yuga. Everybody is suffering. I'm also suffering. I'm not the body. I'm not the subtle body. I'm soul. Although we don't realize this, we believe this because of past sukriti. It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or, Hindu. Whatever past sukriti has done, Ajnata sukriti has brought you to some stage, like I gave you the example, that you may not have seen a rocket, but you have seen a cycle, you have seen a motorcycle, you have seen a car, you have seen a plane. Then you believe there is a rocket, and you have studied mechanical engineering, you understand principles of rocket. So although you have not seen the rocket, your belief in the existence of the rocket is not same as some kya ho gaya? So what was I saying? So it is not the same belief as say an uneducated man on the street believing rocket hai. He doesn't know what is a rocket. He doesn't know what are mechanical principles. Are you following? Therefore, people may say, have you seen, the soul? Have you seen the subtle body? Why do you believe in all these things? But you believe because of your past punya. So because of this past punya, we have taken up this process. And this green glass knowledge is sufficient to make you give up material existence and take up this process. Therefore, special. Hardly, not everybody has got some past punya. But the fact that we all have been able to give up one of the four things. What is that four things? Eating, mating, sleeping, defending, Prabhupada said. Of this defending process, we have given up. I said this in the last class. And all the devotees, they are no longer worried about where the food will come from, the next place, or where will I live. You see, I don't have a house, what will happen? No. And after having come, you should not go back on that thing. Never look back. So the path of Krishna consciousness, spiritual life is Simmanyaya. Simmanyaya is that you don't look back. An ordinary fox, if you see in the forest, every 2 seconds he'll stop and look idhar udhar. But the lion is just walking. He never looks back. Nobody has got any guts to come near him. You see? So we must become a lion. We should just go forward. In the Perfection of Yoga, in the very first page, Prabhupada writes that one who thinks that who will protect me cannot go to the forest. Because forest is a dangerous place. You should know that Paramatma is in the heart and Paramatma samahitaha. So, this is a process of Krishna consciousness. And you make progress in this path by associating with sadhus. Who are sadhus? Sadhuryeva samantavyam. This is why Bhagavad-gita is spoken. Api chet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhag. You see? Even somebody is very sinful, if he actually in his heart has established Ananya Bhakti. This Ananya Bhakti is that, as I explained last time, why are you doing this? That's all, I want to do it. There is no motivation, ahetu. So Krishna says, and that is Bhakti Lata Beach. It's not so easy to get. Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavanji. Who is that one person in the whole Brahmanda who has got it? Just because we have read the green glass knowledge from the books, we should not imagine now I am situated on the highest platform and I will go and deliver other people now. No, no. One has to be very fortunate to be able to think properly in Krishna consciousness. Am I making sense or just wasting time? Making sense or no? I'm not talking about Lord Nrsimhadev. No, I am. But these are all the basic things. So, when you come in with green glass knowledge, you must be told, this green glass knowledge is good enough for you to come inside the temple. Now, you pack this up and keep. If you want, when you go outside also, based on this green glass knowledge, you can reach and make more green glass knowledge people. And it will be good enough to make them join. But here now, we will teach you what is beyond green glass knowledge. That must be there. That must be there. Therefore, the Bhagavatam class is there. And in the Bhagavatam class, knowledge that is beyond green glass must be spoken. Green glass knowledge also is good. There's no harm. But if we want to advance, so the sadhu is a person who is actually connected to the acharya. And what is the first sign of such a sadhu? I won't say that. Then they'll throw stones at me. That's the problem here. In ISKCON, you can't really speak everything properly. Prabhupada said like Prabhupada said. That's green glass knowledge. Keep quiet and sit down. It's not there. Anyway, such sadhus are between the acharya and, normal party worker. We are normal party workers. So, and why so? Adav Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu, you must know who is a sadhu. He has already, Krishna has defined. Why did he define the sadhu? Very important. Before Guru, sadhu. So, by that process, you should slowly get rid of the green glass knowledge. This process is there. Every step can be explained actually it is there. Just like we discussed what is the very first step of Krishna consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj went through that in a second. And the next Prahlad Maharaj, so at that time the mind becomes quiet. Or does it become quiet? The mind becomes quiet. There is one famous Bhagavata, very authentic. His name is Uthukadu Subramanya Iyer. Mukund Madhava Prabhu will know, right? Uthukadu. So, he wrote more than 30,000 songs with God. Very great. And then he wrote a famous song which everybody sings in all the... Those who know Tamil will know this. So it is Alai Paide Kanna. Alai means waves, tarang. Alai Paide means my mind is, in waves. Un Ananda Mohana Venu Ganamadil. By hearing your beautiful flute, my mind has become disturbed. So somebody came, one music director, and he said, Prabhuji so-and-so is such a great music director, some very big man in India, Rahman or something, and he has interpreted this song. I said, what did he interpret it? No, you can't interpret this song unless you are transcendental. You see? You cannot interpret this song unless you are transcendental. So you must be able to visualize, why did suddenly Uthakadu write Alaipaide Kanna? Because his mind, like Prahlad Maharaj's mind, has become quiet, absolutely not moving. And he has entered Santabhav. That is called Santabhav. In Santabhav, the mind is completely quietened and freed. And it's a very pleasing, wonderful thing. It's beyond Brahman. And suddenly the mind is disturbed. That is not the disturbance of the conditioned soul. Now transcendental emotions are coming. No more material feelings, but now begins the transcendental feeling. His mind is beginning to, and he's saying, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. What is this happening? He says, I don't know how he is writing his experience. I don't know how my mind is now disturbed because I had conquered all this by service to Krishna. Yeah, but the same Krishna is now disturbing you transcendentally. Alaipaide kanna un ananda mohana venugaanamadil alaipaide. Venugan. So they have written these things. So that is why Prabhupada said there is material feelings, but there are also spiritual feelings. So you should not think that your mind will be very quiet after you are liberated. That means it's still not successful. The mind has to become disturbed, but it is disturbed in transcendental love. That's another life, completely different. So now Prahlad Maharaj has actually entered the stage and he's saying, Prabhupada writes in the purport, the word, what is this? Susamahita. Susamahita means very attentive or fully fixed. Paramatma samahitaha. Isn't it? What is it? Verse anybody knows? Paramatma, something. Jitendriya Paratma, something is Atmana. Paramatma samahita. Jitendriya Atmana, Paramatma samahita. What is the meaning of being controlling the senses, which are different from sense organs? You should know this. Controlling eating doesn't mean controlling the tongue. That may be though, but actually there is a sense of taste. You have to control that sense. So what is the meaning of a person whose senses are controlled? Paramatma samahitaha. Samahitaha means you have approached Paramatma. He's there, the heart is there, you can see. So susamahita is even more, because Hriday Narasimha is now Bahir Narasimha. Is in front of him. Very attentive or fully fixed. He goes there, very fully fixed. The ability to fix the mind in this way is a result of yoga siddhi, mystic perfection. We should note this. Do I have it? Do I have this yoga siddhi? This Prabhupada is writing, he is revealing everything. But we are just simply reading. As it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, that's why I said this is not written in English. It is written that science subject matter is the science of bhakti. Unless you know that, we cannot understand this. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 12:13:1, Dhyana avastita tadgutena manasa pashyanti yam yoginaha. Just see how Prabhupada is beautifully quoting. One attains yogic perfection when he is freed from all material diversions that happened in the previous verse. And his mind is fixed upon the lotus feet of the Lord. It's such an important thing Prabhupada is saying. Okay, he is a Ustad. He is an unlimited, very great personality, Prabhupada. Very great. How great we do not know how great Prabhupada is. That is another topic. Prabhupada. So, how he is writing so precisely. We should know, we read this, we should be able to relate to Bhagavatam. So, anyway, fix upon. This is called Samadhi or trance. Prahlad Maharaj attained that stage beyond the senses. Not technical. Everything is revealing, just like a video. Beyond the senses. Because he was engaged in service. He felt transcendently situated. He went from Mandatta Seva to Prabhudatta Seva. And naturally his mind and attention became saturated in transcendence. In that condition, he began to offer prayers of sorrow. This is a condition in which the prayers are offered. Interesting or not interesting? Boring, isn't it? No, Bhagavatam is fantastic. Every sentence, everything is going on. There is nothing to prepare. You just sit and read. It's like a video. Spiritual life is unfolding. Bhagavatam is describing everything like a video. Everything is real. But in order to actually do that, in Mandatta Seva means you do what you like. Prabhuji, I like to do book distribution. There was once one lady long time ago. She came to BI, a very elderly lady. And she said, I worship Radha Krishna deities in my home. And she said, but what is bhakti? It is doing for Krishna's pleasure, it says. So I asked her, who asked you to do Radha Krishna deity worship? No, from childhood, I've always been attracted. And when I got married, I installed this deity. I had these deities and I'm worshipping them now for 40, 50 years. So that's because you like to worship, you're doing. But suppose you are doing something because somebody else told you. That is bhakti. This is also bhakti, but in that you are doing it for Krishna's pleasure. If the person who is telling you is authorized. So in Mandatta Seva, we are doing what we like, or we are doing what someone who is doing Mandatta Seva likes. Authority. I've been through that process. I have myself engaged people. Afterwards, I stop this nonsense, engage yourself first. That's fine. When someone who has gone past Mandatta Seva starts engaging you, that is a fantastic thing. Anyway, I'm just slowly, saying a little bit, and then going back. Otherwise, they will just kill you. She said everything. All right. So your goal, I'm telling you, is that you must go from green glass knowledge. It's not the same thing. Probably, how long have you been in green glass knowledge? 10 years. I'm 25 years green glass knowledge. I'm senior to you. No. When Shukadeva Goswami spoke, everybody sat. Because he knows. Prahlad Maharaj prayed. Let us see what is this person praying who has actually reached samadhi, transcendence. His mind has become completely quiet. The Paramatma Samahitaha, directly as Sakshad ho gaya. Now, Prahlad Maharaj prayed, how is it possible for me, who have been born in a family of asuras, to offer suitable prayers to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Even until now, all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma and all the saintly persons could not satisfy the Lord by streams of excellent words. Although such persons are very qualified, being in the mode of goodness, then what is to be said of me? I am not at all qualified. It's only a small boy, and all the demigods have come and spoken, and Narasimha didn't even pay any attention. And he was still completely in incredible anger. When I joined, there used to be a devotee who would lead Narasimha prayers. And he was really into the mood. He'll chant, Namaste Narasimhayam. Everybody, Namaste. Say suddenly. Everybody, oh, what happened, you know? Piranya. It was like, Narasimha himself is singing, wow, you know. But he used to enjoy, and we used to also love it. And, he had his mood, It was nice. So, Lord Narasimha was really angry. And nobody's prayers had satisfied him. And this is the sign of the devotee who has become purified of material contamination, that he thinks that I am not qualified. He is not thinking, now I am liberated, I am great, and I will instruct others. He is realizing, oh. So, the first sign of this, before liberation, we are all not liberated. I mean, at least I am not. Maybe many or all of you are liberated. But in general, I am saying, when somebody is not liberated, material conditioning, the sign of this, that I don't know anything, the reflection of that is when we are reading Prabhupada's books, we don't read and feel, now I know something. Oh, today I've learned. Oh, I didn't see this before. No. You always think, oh, I didn't know this. I didn't know this. I didn't know. Every time you are reading, you are not thinking you are learning something new. You are thinking, I didn't know this. Of course, you have learned, but you are more surprised that you didn't know this. So, purport, Prabhupada writes, wow, see, look at the first sentence of the purport. A Vaishnava who is fully qualified to serve the Lord still thinks himself extremely low while offering prayers to the Lord. It is a different transcendental exchange. I don't have any entrance into that. From here, but at least they are saying the same thing that Prabhupada is saying. For example, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, says, Jagai madai hoite muni se papishta puri se rakita haite muni salagishta. Thus he considers himself unqualified, lower than the worms and stool, and more sinful than Jagai and Madai. A pure Vaishnava actually thinks of himself in this way. Prabhupada writes, actually, not simply saying. How? How can we know unless we become pure devotee? It's actually. Similarly, although Prahlad Maharaj was a pure exalted Vaishnava, see, Prabhupada is writing, a pure Vaishnava actually thinks of himself in this way. He's saying actually. So therefore, we can understand he's a pure Vaishnava, because he's revealing whatever. He thought himself most unqualified to offer prayers to the Supreme Lord. Mahajano yena gata sapanta. Every pure Vaishnava should think like this. One should not be falsely proud of his Vaishnava qualifications. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore instructed us, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Unless one is meek and humble, to make progress in spiritual life is very difficult. We, see every verse the Prabhupada is writing the purport perfectly. It's not same thing being repeated. We are very careless. It will look like that. Prabhupada is saying the same thing, page after page. Verse. No, it's not. Read just one more purport. Prahlad Maharaj continued, one may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. What is the devotional service? What Datta Seva? Anybody remembers? I said? Guru Datta Seva. Prabhu Datta Seva. See? However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotion. Gajendra did this and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. It is not necessary that just because you are on the altar every day, you know Krishna. That Krishna has already said, Naham Vedai na tapasa na tanena na chechaya. You have to understand the principles of Puracharya. We must not think, we must know how to actually understand everything in the proper context. You can know the Lord only by bhakti, and bhakti means doing seva. Seva means progressing to the point of Prabhudatta Seva. Prabhupada writes in the purport, no kind of material qualification is the means for satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now I said Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati. Prabhupada is quoting the same thing. As stated in Bhagavad-gita, only by devotional service can the Lord be known. Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati. Unless the Lord is pleased by the service of a devotee, the Lord does not reveal himself. Naham prakasha sarvesya yoga maya samavritaha. Avrita means covered, samavrita means completely covered. This is the verdict of all Shastras. Neither by speculation nor by material qualifications can one understand or approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have to understand what exactly it means to say by material qualification one cannot approach the Lord. Because by material senses you cannot reach Krishna. Atha Sri Krishna Namadi Navaved Grahyam Indriyahi. The senses cannot reach Krishna. So, bhakti is a means to transcend the senses by engaging them in Krishna's service. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. So, it is not wrong to engage the material senses in Krishna's service, because if we have material senses, we have to engage them in Krishna's service. But it is wrong to think that by the material senses, I can understand Krishna. That is a different problem. The karmi, he is always saying, why is Krishna God? Why there is no God? Why should I believe in God? That is by his material senses he is trying to convince me. Okay, you can try, but anyway, the point is that material senses are not the means to understand Krishna, but the senses can be engaged in Krishna's service. So there is a subtle difference. And therefore, one must actually do Prabhudatta Seva. Anyway, this goes on, it's only just the beginning. We have just started the prayers. It is unlimited. Any questions or comments? Time ho gaya, both. Yes, Prabhu. Pardon me? What is the difference between Prabhudatta Seva and Mandatta Seva?
Guru Datta Seva. Are they both same or different?
No, it doesn't say Guru Datta Seva. Chaitanya Charitamrita says Prabhudatta Seva.
So, another question, Prabhuji. Thank you. So you mentioned Bhagavatam.
But he didn't say Guru Datta. I misheard him, right? You only said Prabhudatta Seva, correct? You did. You did say. I misheard, I thought. That is why he was asking. It's too advanced. You have to know a lot more before I can answer that. Yeah, go on.
You mentioned in the Bhagavatam class we should speak or hear above green glass knowledge. Beyond.
Beyond. It will be nice. But I said, green glass all no chalega kya word.
So many times whenever I hear you, I expect little bit that I would love to learn little bit behind green glass knowledge. But I fail to understand it being in the same platform. So can you help me with that?
Wow. That's a very nice thought. And we have to associate. Come and see me sometimes. We sit and discuss. And whatever Krishna and Prabhupada allows will come. It's possible, but one must be willing. Most people are not willing. Once I gave a class in one temple. Spoke about Prabhupada a lot. Nowadays I don't. So after the class, I went to in the guest house. They gave me a room. I was there and tock, knock. This person came. And he said, Prabhu, can I speak to you for 5 minutes? I said, sure. Then he came, we sat, and he had a laptop. He opened the laptop and he put it, and he took a notebook, pen, everything, and he also put one, even tape recorder. Prabhu, I loved your class, he said. And, and I had said something about connecting to Prabhupada. So he said, I would like to connect to Prabhupada, and please kindly instruct me. I didn't know what to say. I was just looking. And then he had one. Anyway, I asked him to do something. You do this first, I said. And he looked like that. Then he closed the laptop. And then he switched off the tape recorder. And he took notebook and everything, he put it in his bag, got up and left without a word. I also didn't expect that kind of a summary reaction. So you have to be willing. It is not merely a matter of wanting to go beyond green glass knowledge. The thirst must be there. Just like a rope is there, no? I'm holding one rope, and on your side you have put it on the ground. No matter how much I pull, nothing will happen. So you have to also hold the rope. Then only it gets tight. Bhagavatam says in the 5th canto that like the two arani sticks, right? They must be dry. They must both be dry. In modern terms, matchbox. Matchbox also should be dry. Matchstick also should be dry. Otherwise, if one or both are wet, chick, 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 nothing will happen. So that's not there. It's possible.
So in Bhagavatam class, do you feel there are not kind of students are sitting who are eager to,
What is that in Bhagavatam class?
means, do you think like that in Bhagavatam class there are some students who are audience who are sitting which are not qualified to know about beyond green glass knowledge?
No, I don't think. When we speak for the pleasure of Prabhupada, not for. I'm always speaking for the deity and Prabhupada.
Thank you very much.
If the devotees get some fight out of it, fine. If not, fine. But generally, yata taror moolam, if you are trying to speak to please Prabhupada, then others will also be pleased if Prabhupada is pleased. I don't think like that. I actually said that we are all conditioned. Then I said, I'm conditioned. I don't know about all of you. So you can't give a class thinking I know something, you don't know something.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
But whatever is in the Bhagavatam is being spoken. He only gave the knowledge to him only, like Ganga water is offered to Ganga. Prabhupada is pleased to hear, hopefully, then it's nice. Any other question? I will repeat the question. Right. Right. Oh. That's also there. Is he asking that Lord's lotus feet and Lord's lotus face are identical? So why everywhere it only says you should focus on the lotus feet of the Lord? Why not on the lotus face of the Lord? That is described in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, that the yogi hears. Of course, in the olden days, everything was oral tradition. They didn't have printed Bhagavatam. But the same knowledge was there. And they hear, and they know how the Lord is. And then the yogi in the heart, it is described, must first meditate on the tip of the nail of the lotus feet of the Lord. And like that, slowly go, and then lotus feet, and then ankle, and then calf muscles. Like that, you go to the... Even when we come every day for darshan, we don't directly see the face of the Lord. That's not the proper way. You have to first see Prabhupada from his lotus feet to the top, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then lotus feet of Lord Nityananda to the face, then Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet to the face. That's called darshan. Directly. Even in cultured societies, in the olden days, the women, never looked at the husband directly, they looked at his feet first. This is of course, people were qualified at that time. That's a different matter. So, that is the proper humility. Directly, you don't see the Lord, that is described, so we just follow that. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram paditam ma mishame bhavam budhav kripaya tava pada pankaja stitaduli vidrush kripaya tava pada pankaja. So, lotus feet of the Lord is most important.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Because that's what is going to come in the heart. And when the Lord places the lotus feet, He doesn't agree to pray in any heart. For that, one has to do a lot of things. And all of that is part of the preliminary process they are practicing. You should know that, and it should culminate in realization. Self-realization means first realizing the lotus feet of the Lord. Anybody else? Any other question? Stop here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Lakshmi Narasimha Bhagavan ki jai. And